Hey yo, it's Chloe. Recently, I have been doing a lot of talks with college students from all over the nation. And one of the most common questions I get is, hey, Chloe, I am interested in being a product manager, but what is it that you even do? The product manager role is definitely one of those really buzzy and cool jobs to try to go after. It is highly sought after, it is well paid, and it is very respectable in the world of tech. So today, I am here to tell you what it is that I do on a day-to-day as a product manager. So let's get started. Welcome to my channel, Colors of Chloe. I am a product manager and I work in the creator space. I have built features for many years now, and I have worked at Boeing, Google, Caffeine, Facebook, and now at TikTok. So now that's out of the way, let's talk about what a product manager does. The one thing that we do really is that we launch features to make our users happy. Our role is really at the intersection of user experience, tech, and business. We are really involved in crafting the look and feel of the experience. We have to understand what are the technical costs and what the tech debt is to help us prioritize what features to work on. And then we have to be very, very in tune with the ROI is for the business. Whether that's in revenue or user growth or safety or PR, we have to know how it benefits us as a business. Though I really like to think about product the way that Todd Jackson, who's a VP of product at Dropbox, has put it. PMs are responsible for, number one, articulating what a winning product looks like. Number two, rallying the entire cross-functional team to build it, which is a really hard process. And number three, iterating until we get it right. So how it starts off is like we really have to understand how product is broken down into features and experiences. Like you're not just a product manager of Google, you're not the product manager of Airbnb. You are staffed on a specific product team that owns a very particular product experience. I couldn't quite understand this concept for a really long time until I started to understand how org charts are created. Oftentimes companies will separate different types of product teams based on like different user experiences, or maybe the different buttons that exist on your platform, or maybe a combination of both. So if we're separating teams on different user experiences, people can be staffed on product teams that own the creator experience, or user growth, or ads and monetization, or the creator insights team, or even the viewer experience team. If you think about it from a buttons perspective, there's pretty much a product team for every like cluster of buttons that exist. Like there's a team for the share button, the go live button, the notifications that pop up, the admin settings panel, the feed team, the event creation flow. If there's any features that you roll out as a PM that impacts other teams, which oftentimes it does, you have to make sure that every team is okay with what you're launching, because sometimes your feature might take away from another feature. For example, rolling out Instagram stories probably took away from Instagram posts, you know? There are always these product trade-offs to think through. So let's pretend that we're on the creator experiences team. And usually your leadership, which refers to your executives on the team, they set a North Star that you have to aim for. These are your metrics of success that you're measured against. This is a really important metric to understand and to define. So I read this somewhere, but basically once upon a time, Slack used to measure their North Star on the number of spaces that users created. And that's not super meaningful because like, what if you have a bunch of spaces that people create and nobody engages with them? That's not really valuable. You have to really understand what the magical moment is within the scope of your product team and the users that you're serving. What is the aha moment? For Slack's case, it's really getting to that point where you're collaborating and working with your teammates. That's what Slack is all about. So they changed their North Star from raw number of spaces created to something more meaningful, which is their activation milestone. And that is like getting a space to have 3 members and 3,000 messages sent. And this is not random, which a lot of companies do, which is pretty bad, but Slack really did very deep analysis on what their threshold is for what spaces that exist that have really great retention, and they find what correlates to that. This is just like Facebook's aha moment where Facebook tried to get as many users to reach 7 friends in 10 days. This is the point where your users finally get it, if you know what I mean. So we as the product managers have to really understand, number one, who our users are. What are their user personas? How do they behave? What are their demographics? What do they like? What don't they like? What are their pain points? And what prevents them from reaching the experience that we want them to have? Then the next step kind of is like putting together design workshop where you bring in all your cross-functional partners, we call them XFNs, and we whiteboard out all the different user profiles. And then we figure out which ones are most important to our team. And then we analyze these specific personas and we're like, can we come up with a set of people problem statements to understand their pain points? Then you brainstorm all of that, you prioritize which ones that are important for you right now, and then for every single pain point, for every single people problem, you brainstorm all together what are all the different feature solutions that you could implement to solve their problems. So let me pause right there and give you an example. And this is really outdated, but a people problem could be, as a new Facebook user, I have a hard time finding friends who are already on Facebook. And then from that people problem, you can come up with all kinds of solutions. Like it could be adding a suggested friends list, or in the account creation process, you can import emails or contacts from your phone. You can also browse other profiles based on your network, your school. Ultimately, you want to come up with feature solutions that solve the root pain point that can help move the needle on your North Star. Does that make sense? And then after you have all these ideas, you prioritize, you ruthlessly prioritize, and then you build your roadmap. And then once you have your roadmap, you start working on the individual features and you scope out the product with your XFNs. You work with UXR, partnerships, data, product operations, engineering, and UX. In the understand phase, you really have to deep dive into every single part of this feature. You build the design mocks with your designer and your copywriter or your content strategist, and you simultaneously work with your data team to understand the success metrics, and you put all of that into what's called a PRD, which is a product requirements document. This is your main direct deliverable. I mean, your deliverable should be launching the product and making users happy, but like the thing that you have to write up yourself and you own is this document. But once you have that done, you go through so many rounds of review. It's insane. You just have to make sure that this feature is a net positive in the grand ecosystem of things within your product. And that takes really deep understanding of your product. So it's best that you have a deep interest for the product space you're working in. After your billion reviews, then you hand it off to engineering to do their own technical review. They figure out eng time, eng costs, who needs to do what, is it client side, server side. You have to decide whether or not it needs A/B testing. And after you're ready to release like at least the V1, you have to go through QA testing, release testing, launch planning. We usually don't roll out features at 100% all over the world. We have to come up with a way to test it in a small environment first. And then if everything's Gucci, then you roll it out globally and you have a launched feature. You have to work with data really closely to make sure all of your events are logged so that you can come up with proper analysis. And once you've launched, we make sure to celebrate. And then after a few weeks, we come up with a report out of the results as well as a post-mortem for what we could have done better. And the whole process just kind of repeats. So once your career progresses, you kind of just work on features that are bigger and bigger, and you work on like big bet features because we want to venture into like a new space. And yeah, that's pretty much the job. So if I had to break down my job, it would just be a lot of meetings and a lot of writing. It's like 60% meetings, 30% documentation. Like I have 100 tabs on Chrome that are different documents or spreadsheets or design files. It's a lot. And then 10% group chats. Like for real, especially because we're remote now, I wake up to probably anywhere from 100 to like 400 messages in my group chats. And not all of them are that important, but it's important for me to be in a lot of these group chats and then respond back to stakeholders to get back to them when things are being released, why something wasn't prioritized, why something is prioritized, and then just sending them the documents that I constantly pump out. So that's a lot of discussion and deliberation. I know that sounded like a lot, but I really do enjoy being a PM. Out of all of the various roles that I've had in my career, being a product manager has been my favorite. In a future video, I will share exactly why I love being a product manager, so stay tuned on this channel. If you liked what you saw today, do join this community. We welcome you with open arms to learn about all things career in tech and the creator space. Come by Twitch for my co-working and co-studying sessions. And that's it. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you have an excellent day or evening wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Bye!